What is up, everybody? It is Casey here, bringing you another M1 Finance overview. So today we're going to be talking a little bit more in depth about M1 against some of the other major apps that are out there right now, specifically Motif. So Motif is another app that's out there right now, and Robinhood, of course, I can't bring that up on my computer because it's a mobile-only app. So maybe leave me a comment if you want to see that. I do have that app, and I can always make a phone cast for you if you want to know more about Robinhood. So please excuse the black box right here. That's kind of covering up some of my personal information here in M1. So let's get right into it. Some of the biggest benefits, there are three major benefits that I look for in an app when we are trading with low amounts of money for beginner investors. The first one is fractional shares. Why does that matter? Fractional shares allow us to be able to own less than an entire share of a stock. So I currently own, you'll see right here, I own 0.7181 shares of Bush. So normally with the other apps that we're comparing today, Motif is the only one that also allows fractional shares. So with Robinhood, you have to outright own every share, which for this one will cost you $113.08. If you want to own 2 shares of that, it'll cost you twice that. With Robinhood, you'll have to buy that outright. With M1 Finance, you can buy fractional shares. So I could own 0.01% or 0.01 of a share if I really wanted to. That is incredibly useful because when we only have $400 or maybe $100, we are going to have a very hard time carefully and safely investing in the market using any kind of reasonable diversification without owning fractional shares, because I could really only own maybe like 1 share of Apple and 2 shares of Bush, and I'd be out of money. But as you can see here with M1, I'm able to own quite a few different securities. And then diversification is another thing that M1 and Motif offer a little bit more than Robinhood does. I would say that M1 takes the cake though, because you can go in and add ETFs. So I can go and grab the Vanguard Total Stock Market Fund, and this is an ETF that replicates the entire market as a whole, and I can own fractional shares of this as well. So inside of this ETF are things like Apple, Microsoft, GE, all of those things would probably be in here. So I could click add to portfolio, brokerage account, and then boom, here it is. So this one right here down to here, these are all individual stocks. And then this one up here is, of course, an ETF. So it's a fund, and it has a bunch of different stocks inside of it. And then I can come in here and I can combine a couple of my holdings to make a new group. So I'll name this individual stocks. Boom, check mark. So now I've just made myself a little pie. I've made a little pie out of 2 individual stocks. So now I have a fund with a bunch of different things in it. I have another little pie here that has 2 underlying securities, and then I have a bunch of individuals down here. So we can set this up any way that we would like to. We're going to go back and get rid of those changes. So diversification. Motif also offers some good diversification. So you can come in here. This is the Motif app, and you can come in and maybe find, let's say, we'll look at top performers. Great. Battling cancer. Been a great performer here on Motif. Doesn't mean we should buy it, but we'll take a look at it. We scroll down here and we can see that this Motif is made up of a bunch of different underlying assets. In fact, we can see the overall performance of that versus the S&P. We can see what they call the Motif index. So really what we're looking at here is diversification within a Motif. You can, because it allows diversification like this, you will end up owning fractional shares in here. And you can also purchase individual stocks if you want to. So you can come up here and we can go trade stocks. Boom, come in and we type in Apple, action, buy, right? So we come in and and we say, I want to buy $10 worth, and it says that's 0.06 shares. So that is fractional shares that Motif and M1 both share. And Robinhood does not allow fractional shares. You have to buy whole shares, which means you need a pretty large sum of money to be diversified. So I like M1 and I like Motif because of the fractional shares, which allow diversification. It's really nice. So let's see, can we get VTI here? We can get Vanguard Total Stock Market Index. This is an ETF, and I can trade this here in Motif. That's awesome. Unfortunately, it will cost me, right here it says standard pricing, $10 total commission per Motif transaction. I think it's like $7 per stock trade. So it's $10 per Motif or $7 per stock trade, which is where we get into the third thing that M1 offers and Robinhood offers. M1 and Robinhood are both very low expense. Robinhood charges 0 commissions. That means you won't pay any money when you buy and sell stocks here with Robinhood. I love that a lot. So stop paying up to $10 for every trade, no commission. Motif definitely charges commission, $10 per commission for a Motif. So if you go in and you want to buy a Motif from somebody, maybe it's a Motif that somebody else made. If you want to buy any of these Motifs, it's going to cost you $10 to buy it. I believe it's going to cost you $10 to sell it as well, which really sucks. If we have a little bit of money to invest, if we only have a couple of $100, $10 is a big chunk of $200. That's 5%, and that's hard to make back up. M1 does not charge you anything. Robinhood does not charge you anything for commissions. Robinhood technically is cheaper because M1 will charge you a fee, and we saw that in the other video that I made. Over $1,000, you'll be charged 0.25% up to $100,000. So at $1,000, you're going to be charged $2.50 a year to make as many trades as you want, which is dumb cheap. Robinhood technically is 0, so I guess Robinhood has got us beat a little bit with low expenses. Motif, however, expense for trading is off the charts compared to Robinhood and M1. So M1 has, number 1, fractional shares. We can own a small amount. I can own 4.1876 shares instead of just 4 shares. It offers diversification, so I can go in and I can add pre-made pies. So I can go in and I can add a pie that replicates ICANN Capital. And we'll go, let's see, discover hedge fund followers, ICANN Capital, and we can see that the ICANN Capital Fund owns all of these underlying assets. So it's pretty well diversified. It looks like this, and that'll go inside of my personal pie. So inside of this pie, one of these chunks would have even smaller chunks down inside of it. So that allows almost infinite levels of diversification. You can have pie with inside of a pie with inside of a pie. Diversify. You can own just insane amounts of stocks or underlying assets of any kind, which is really cool. And then, of course, low expenses. So we'll be charged 0.02 or 0.25% or $2.50 per $1,000 per year to do as much trading and diversification as we want. Robinhood will charge us nothing ever to buy or sell, but we have to own whole shares, which can be prohibitive. And Motif is going to charge us, wow, where'd it go? Standard pricing. They're going to charge us $10 commission per Motif transaction, which is very expensive. If you've only got $100, they're charging you 10% of your total account, which is absurd. So Robinhood, probably the best app for those looking to spend absolutely nothing to buy and sell. Maybe the worst app for diversification, however. So it's a trade-off there. Motif, great app for fractional shares, great app for diversification, terrible app for low expenses. M1, great app for fractional shares, great app for diversification because we can have a pie with inside of a pie with inside of a pie, and a great app for low expenses. If you're trading with less than $1,000 in your account, it will cost you absolutely nothing. From 1,000 to 100,000, it's going to cost you 0.25%. So $2.50 per 1,000 per year to do this, which is pretty cool. So I'm letting you guys see what's happening under the hood here. Leave me some comments with your questions, with your thoughts. Which app is right for you? It really depends on what you're trying to do. Of course, I haven't considered your personal needs, your risk tolerance, your profile. This is not specific advice. This is, of course, just a look at Robinhood versus Motif versus M1. And again, M1, great for fractional shares, diversification, low expenses. Robinhood is really just the best for low expenses, terrible for diversification, fractional shares. And Motif is great for fractional diversification, but it's going to cost you a lot. Let me know what you want to hear more of, and please consider using my affiliate link to sign up for M1. It'll cost you absolutely nothing, and it will kick me back some money to keep making good videos for you. I want to hear from you. I want to know what you want to know about M1. What are you confused about? Do you want to see M1 versus other apps? Do you want to see under the hood of Robinhood? Do you want me to make a screencast of Robinhood? We can talk more about the pros and cons of Robinhood. Do you want to know more about the pros and cons of Motif? Leave me some comments, let me know, and thanks for watching.